Voy a reír, voy a gozar, vivir mi vida, la, 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 la. Mi gente. Do you remember when it was like September? Love was changing my mind like a tender, while chasing the clouds away. I was ringing in the key that souls are singing as we dance in the night. While the stars hold the night away.
But the power of attorney has permission to sign that. Like even if you
Talking away, I don't know what to say. I'll say it anyway. Today is another day to find you shying away. I'm coming for your love, okay? Take on me, take on me, take me on, take on me. I'll be gone. Woo! Needless to say.
All right, y'all. Got me in the space I needed to be. Calvin Terrell already starting off strong. Okay, y'all, so we're back at it. I got to say a few things before we hand it over to Mr. Calvin Terrell. It's usually part of my practice to to shout out a few participants today, so it's good to see you. Anna Vasquez, Angela Fragazzo, it's good to see you. Lisa Lyle, I believe. Kevin's back. Good to see you, Kevin. Michelle Paletti. Michelle Hockema. You're winning, right? You're winning the points challenge right now. I need you to stop that out because I'm still trying to win. Of course, we have our support team, Tawny Crisp. Good to see you. Callista, I see you on the screen right now. Good to see you on. All right, so some housekeeping. We want to thank our sponsors. Be sure to check out our virtual exhibit hall. If you are not on mute, put yourself on mute. We appreciate that. Continue to play the game. Right now, the top 3 of the game so far are Michelle Hockema from KCHA, Sandra Silberda from Yakima, and Nelly Ochoa from Yakima. Man, Yakima is holding up 2 out of the top 3. Washington has all 3. I'm gonna need Alaska, I need Oregon, and I need Idaho to step up and play in the games. We can't let them do us like that. How are we gonna let just Washington just take all the prize, just all the top spots? Okay, y'all. It's been a good conference so far. I want to be sure that I thank our key sponsor, which is KeyBank, on being able to help us bring this forward. This is an exciting thing to be able to move forward. And I want to thank Calvin Terrell for playing the bangers this morning. For those of you who did just join, you missed out on a dance session. You missed out on everything but the words he's about to bring. So you're still in time, but you missed out on some good mood music. So without further ado, I'm going to read Calvin's bio, and then I'm going to hand it over to you, Mr. Calvin Terrell. So Calvin Terrell transforms pain into power and haunts into healing, surviving violences, losing loved ones to addictions, murder, white supremacy, and misogyny, as well as owning his own prejudices. Let me read that again. As well as owning his own prejudices, he recognized none of us are perfect, including him. I love that. And role in oppression compels Calvin's service. Calvin is founder/director of Social Centric Institute, a nonprofit he built to educate anyone and everyone to be healers of historical trauma around racial intersections, class, religion, gender, and environmental disruption. For more than 25 years, Calvin has engaged in every demographic throughout the U.S. in historical trauma healing processes. His approaches draw from many technologies that are colonial, decolonized, and indigenous. For his dedication to human rights, Calvin has been awarded with honors from faith, educational, civic, and activist organizations, as well as government institutions, including the City of Phoenix, year 2000, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Living the Dream Award. The demand of his services prompted organizations such as Harpo Inc., Oprah Winfrey's production company, to contract Calvin to train executive producers, coach various members of the production team, and assist in their transition to the O Network. He was also honored to be a contributing consultant in designing the Muhammad Ali Center in Louisville, Kentucky. Most recently, the Obama Foundation sought Calvin's collaboration with regards to community empowerment. Calvin challenges the privileged to abandon fragile pedestals and of inconsiderate obliviousness, while he encourages the oppressed to remember their power developed from surviving historical unfairness. He invites all to abandon identity, superstitions, and materialistic traditions so humanity can meet and collaborate on a healing field of justice waiting for cultivation. His greatest achievements are marriage, fatherhood, and a relationship with the infinite power that fashioned the stars. Calvin is not a Democrat, nor a Republican, a libertarian, or an anarchist. He is a soul experiencing Black membership of the human race. Calvin helps all remember their power, and he doesn't care what you think or what you feel about him, because Calvin loves you regardless. Calvin, hand it over to you.
Bless, Cupid. Bless, bless. Thank you for that intro. Man, brother, you didn't have to read that whole thing, man. That was, you know, you went on and on. So, hey, everyone, this is really exciting to be with you all on the Housing Network. You all provide a service that is so critical. I'm going to jump into some deep stuff with you, and then I'm going to kind of shut down around 20 minutes before 12 o'clock West Coast time, so that if we could do a little Q&A, open-ended. Be sure you mute yourself. We don't want to hear your stories. Now, really quick, let's do this. My understanding is that Amy has a birthday today. So if we could all turn on our videos. When you turn on your videos, we just want to show some love real quick. Turn on your videos, please. You know, if you're in your drawers or chonies, don't turn on your video. I've seen some wild stuff, man. Like, don't be sitting on the toilet. Don't have sex. I mean, you can eat, all right, but just don't do nothing nasty on the screen, okay? So, yeah, and the reason why we want you mute, because you might have a conversation. I've heard some weird stuff, people saying stuff like, I don't need to hear all that. You need some ointment. Come on, what, you know? So, anyway, let's do this for Amy, okay? Everybody, videos on, and we got to give Amy a round of applause. We're going to do the shaking like this. Let's do the videos for Amy. Come on, everybody, turn the video so Amy can see us. Turn on your video. Show us some love. See, some of y'all trifling. You just muted and went away. Amy, this is for you, all right? This is how we sing happy birthday in my family.
Just how much we love you. And to have a party on the day you came to be. Happy birthday to you.
That's for you, Amy.
Happy birthday.
It's a happy day.
Happy birthday.
So with that, I need to say that as Brother Cupid said, I do a lot of work throughout the planet. And I'm excited to get into this with you. But I want to let you know this. I am not an expert. I have been doing this work going on 30 years throughout Earth, and I will never call myself an expert. And if there's anyone that ever stands up in front of you related to healing historical trauma, related to diversity, related to like human relations, really kind of to anything, and they call themselves an expert, please challenge them. Because if there was really any expertise on the I don't know if we would be in the mess that we're in right now, right?
I don't want you to miss
Be
out
sure
on
you're
something
muted.
important.
Be sure you're muted. Be sure you're muted. Yeah, Michael, be sure to mute. Really quick, the other thing to consider with this expert piece is, well, let me tell you a joke. It'll sum it up best. There's 4 people on the plane. Got it? 4 people on the plane. A pilot, an expert, a hippie, and a holy person. Okay? Pilot, expert, hippie, holy person. 4 people. Pilot makes an announcement over the PA. Pilot saying, hey, the plane is going down. We got a problem. The plane is going down. We could all die. Pilot says, but here's the thing. We got 4 people on the plane. We only have 3 parachutes. So the pilot's like, no way, I'm going to die. Pilot grabs a parachute. Pilot bails. The expert flips out. The expert's like, I'm an expert. The world needs me. If I die, the world will be in peril. They need my expertise. I'm an expert. The world really needs me. I'm sorry. The expert grabs a pack and the expert jumps. The holy person says to the hippie, please take the last parachute. I lived a good life. I could die with a sense of satisfaction. Please take it. The hippie says, relax, holy dude. The expert grabbed my backpack. We still have 2 parachutes. We're good. All right, relax. So here's my point. I'm not an expert. And the last thing I want to do is to spend the next 2 hours talking with a bunch of experts. Let's humble our minds. Let's humble our hearts. Let's be learners together. Because if there was any expertise on the planet, we wouldn't be in the mess we're in right now, talking to each other through these Brady Bunch squares. Okay? There's a story. A man named Brady. So, hey, I encourage us to open our hearts and open our minds. Remember, hurt people hurt people. That's not an echo. Hurt people hurt people. Open hearts, open hearts. That's not an echo either. Open hearts, open hearts. Where we need to get to is help each other, help each other. Again, that's not an echo. So this time that I have with you is I'm going to explore some concepts with you related to healing historical trauma, related to this concept of diversity. And then at the end, I'm going to open it up for questions so that you could ask some specific or general questions about how to apply this in your operations, specifically to your jobs, your tasks, your social networks, your communities, places of worship, family, friends, you know, whatever. Now, also, let's get into this. I'm going to put something up here on the screen. I hope that you can see it. This is a concept that I learned from my mentor, Dr. Joy DeGruy. Now, back out. She taught me about this idea of what respect really means. And if you look up, Joy DeGruy wrote a book called Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. This is a book about the impact of chattel slavery on populations throughout the planet. And it's specifically how it has impacted humans called Black African American, but then also the vicarious trauma that has impacted people that have witnessed it. And chattel slavery, by the way, was the most unique slavery the world has ever seen. People enslaved each other throughout Earth, throughout history. But the issue was you couldn't tell slave from master. And a lot of times people that were enslaved would eventually move up in those societies. Like, for example, you couldn't tell Moses from Pharaoh, right? Because you couldn't tell slave from master. Chattel slavery was the first slavery built on the concept of whiteness, that those humans called white were only the ones considered fully human, and humans considered non-white, especially Native and Black, were considered subhuman. That didn't change in the US government until 1964 with the passing of the Civil Rights Act. So I wasn't considered a human until 1964. By the way, the United States government is the only formalized institution that has made that public proclamation. Various religious, corporate, industrial, other institutions have yet to make that public proclamation that humans considered non-white are fully human. So respect is once more afresh and new for re, the prefix, and the root word spect is a Latin root word meaning to see or look. Respect literally means to just look again. To just look again. Now, let's do this. Before we continue, you might be looking again right now. I need you to do the following. You're going to get up and you're going to go grab some pieces of white paper like this, somewhere in your space. And you're going to get as many different colored markers and writing utensils, crayons, colored pencils, Crayon paint if you're a tagger, all right? But you're going to get some stuff to take some notes, because I want you to write some stuff down and ideas and questions you want to ask me, and take notes on these slides so that you can engage other people in this conversation. So really fast, I'm going to put on some music. And when I put on this music, I want you to get up and run away from the screen and go find those papers and writing utensils. Because, you know, we sit too much. I got a lot of COVID curves right now because I've been sitting way too much. But here's the music. Get up, go get some paper and writing utensils. Go for it. Hurry up. Get like a stack of these papers. I just want to stack of writing utensils. You know, markers, crayons, stuff like that. Come on down. You're the next contestant on Price is Right. All right. So hopefully you got some writing tools and you're back on the screen, you're listening. Let's talk about respect real quick. A lot of times in the language of the English, because I'm speaking the language of the English on indigenous land. Yo hablo español poquito, mi esposa es mexicana, yo aprendimos en la calle, mira. Español is idioma de colonia, así. Like we don't use the Spanish like they do in Spain, you know, Barcelona, Marbella with the lift, right? But that's a colonial language. Je parle français un petit peu. J'étais à l'école secondaire, 12 ans, oui. Où est-ce que français, right? French comes from France, right? French, Portuguese, obrigado, right? So all of these languages we speak in the Western Hemisphere, English, Spanish, French, Portuguese, these are all European languages. that were brought to these lands by trauma, terrorism, rape, murder, attempted genocide, chattel slavery. And and that's none of our faults, but it's everything we've all inherited. So now it's our responsibility to do the healing. So this healing requires us to respect. Now, back to the language of the English. A lot of times people use the word respect in place of all kind of stuff. They'll say, be more respectful. But what they're really saying is be more honorable, right? They'll say, you need to show more respect. What they're really saying is show more reverence or dignity to them, or be more patient. You need to be more respectful. They're really saying be more mindful and thoughtful, make better decisions, more discerning. But we use the word respect as this encompassing word. But respect, it just means to look again. Now, understand this. What looks are not our eyes. Our eyes don't look. Our eyes are the tool for looking. What looks is our mind, and not our brain, our mind. Our brain is like the laptop computer, and our mind is like the World Wide Web, right? Our memories, like the mouth doesn't taste. For example, if you've ever tasted Coca-Colas from different parts of the world, they taste different all over the world. Drink a Coca-Cola from Vietnam versus a Coca-Cola from France. Very different taste, right? And so the mouth doesn't taste. What tastes is the memory, the mind. A lot of times when we give something a first look, that first look is not our own mind. It's a mind that's been socially engineered. We're looking through what our dad always said, what our mom always said, what our faith group tells us, our political party tells us, what our social media bubble tells us. We're not looking through our own mind. There's a phrase in Spanish, cada cabeza es un mundo, right? Cada cabeza es un mundo. It means every head is its own world. So for every head that's on this call right now, that's over 100 heads. Every one of those heads is a world, is a reality. Now, that's your reality. That's your perspective. That's your truth. But your truth may not be the truth. Somewhere between all of these heads, all of these realities is one truth, even though we have multiple perspectives. When we learn to look again, to respect, to look again and again and again, we learn to get to truth and not just live in the bubble of our mind, which could be a toxic fume that we think is clean air. They have a phrase down south, they say, they've been pissing on you so long that you think it's rain. Again, they say they've been pissing on you so long that you think it's rain. So I'm here to invite, calling all colors, all identities of humankind, all peoples, to start respecting, because we've been engineered to disrespect, to start looking again at who we are and how we are, at others in all types of situations. I work a lot in schools. Let me show you how people disrespect by just default. A group of scholars hanging out in the morning, right? And one scholar, okay, she's walking by over there. They see her. Group of young scholars, and they're like, oh my God, girl, no, she didn't come out the house looking like that. Look at her, girl. She look broke down. You need to go home. Bye, Felicia. That's that first look, right? And a lot of times that first look is deification or demonization. It's a disrespect. Now, if we learn to look again, maybe they go, respect, look again. Hey, y'all, I wonder what happened to her last night. Look again. Hey, maybe she needs somebody to talk to. Look again. Hey, I wonder if her family's okay. When we really learn to start looking again, it draws out the best in us. Here's another example. Group of scholars, right, hanging out. Guy walking by. They're like, hey, bro, hey, dog, hey, look at that fool right there. Look. Because a lot of men, be we straight, gay, or bi, have been engineered that the way we get ranked, the way we get status, is by putting other men down. Not lifting each other up, by putting each other down. That first look, disrespect, right? But if we learn to look again Maybe we go, hey, respect, look again. Hey, man, I wonder if that soul's doing all right. Hey, look again. Hey, y'all, that dude always sitting by himself. Nobody ever talks to him. Have y'all ever spent time with him? Look again. Hey, yo, I wonder how he defines manhood. Because let me explain. I am a cisgendered straight male. My pronouns are he, his, and him. And as a cisgendered straight male, when I was growing up, you know the only emotion I was allowed to show with fervor? The only emotion I was allowed to show with passion, with strength, was anger. Yeah. Yeah, when I was coming up, little bitty dude, maybe some of y'all can hear my grandson, right? Kind of crying in the background. When I was a little guy and I cut my leg, man, it's bleeding, it hurt. What do? Everybody does their first language. Our first language is crying, right? I start crying. You know what happened to me when I showed hurt with a lot of like strength and fervor? The people around me didn't have a conversation about hurt, how to use hurt, and what do you do? No, they got angry. Stop that. Quit crying. Oh man, wow. When something scared me when I was a little guy, you know, I'm in fear. First language is coming out. I'm starting to cry, right? And the people around me didn't talk to me about fear and talk to me about when they were scared and how you transform fear, or use fear, or navigate fear. They didn't, you know, if I show fear with a lot of passion, they got angry. Get up, well, don't worry about that. I'm crying. You know, if I show too much joy or happiness as a boy, a lot of joy and happiness with passion, man, because they were homophobic and sexist, they thought that was something for women or gay men. So they would get angry. I wasn't even allowed to show too much joy. The only emotion I was allowed to show with strength was anger. So again, respect, look again. How does he define manhood? So friends, as a human race, if we're going to heal this historical trauma and move forward and grow, because if somebody shot up a room we were in, the blood on the ground wouldn't be black or white. The blood wouldn't be brown or yellow. It would all be red, and we would all scream and cry in the same language, and our tears would taste the same. It's time we heal and grow. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take a screenshot of this. Respect, to look again or anew. Take a picture with your phone. Consider this concept of a first look. How could this breakdown of respect be used as an investigative, a self-reflective, a healing tool with regards to challenging conversations, people, or situations? Because you want to talk about diversity? A family is the ultimate diversity test. Not everybody thinks the same, moves the same, acts the same. You know, in my family, I have 4 kids, man. And, you know, I mean, I love them, but we don't always like each other. That's real. And when we learn to, you know, I'm far from perfect, just like Brother Cupid said. You know, I've laid at my children's feet and asked for their apology because my dysfunctions have come through sometimes. So we got to learn to look again in all situations to truly be our best self. That doesn't mean perfection, but striving to be better so that we can better the world. How could we use this? And that reflection piece, he got in a lot of trouble, but there's a poet, his name is Janae Diaz, and he said, you know, a vampire can't see their reflection, right? A vampire can't see their reflection. He said the quickest way to become a monster is to not look at yourself. So to look again, not just at the world around us, but to look again at how am I being and doing? Look again, what am I saying? Am I a chismoso? Do I get off on gossip and backbiting? And do I build relationships on deprecation of other people? Am I a bigot? Do I have subconscious senses of inferiority or superiority? You know, how do I judge various identities? Am I a good person? And excuse my language. I hope this doesn't hurt your virgin ears. But I believe everybody has an inner asshole. Everybody's got an inner asshole. I'm just keeping it real. And by the way, if you're one of those people on the call right now going like, I don't have an inner asshole. No way. You are most definitely the asshole. Okay. If you're doing that. So everybody's got one and we all need to work on it, because it just engineers us to disrespect. Let's keep it moving. Now, get a blank piece of unlined paper and something to draw and write with, preferably a pencil. And I'm going to put some words up on the screen and play some music. Brother Cupid, could you unmute yourself for a second for me, please?
Yes, sir.
Brother Cupid, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show some stuff, and then I'm going to ask for people to write ready in the chat when they want to share an idea or a thought. So when you write ready in the chat, that means you want to talk and say something. Now, don't get into a long dissertation and tell a story. My cousin and my auntie and, my tío, mi abuela, this and that. No. Just share a quick thought. But that'll happen after these words come up and you reflect on them a little bit. Brother Cupid will call you into the conversation. He's going to co-facilitate with me. So he'll be monitoring the chat. And when you say ready, he'll call your name, call you in, unmute yourself, share some thoughts. Then when you're done, go back to muting and we'll keep it moving. So let's get ready to write down what's going to pop up on the screen. These words are going to disappear. The music will be playing. Write down all of these concepts and then just reflect for a little bit and then write down some thoughts and then we'll have a quick conversation. Here we go. Be sure to write that down and go to the borders of your comfort zone and at least a step beyond. Just don't talk about what is happening, what has also happened. We can't get to the Gregorian year 2020 without the Gregorian years 2008, 1971, 16, 20, 14, 92. Everything that is now is based upon everything that was. What has happened? It's happened. It makes it easy. Be sure to write this down. And the reason why I want you to write this down is because I'd like you to have conversations about this question with as many people in the world that like you and not like you. Just don't go to your bubbles. Be an agent of healing. Talk outside of those bubbles and respect. When you're ready to share any thoughts about this, any ideas, just write ready in the chat and Brother Cupid will call you into the conversation. Unmute yourself, share your thoughts, and then we'll move on.
Yes, so Speaker Calvin Terrell, we have a couple people ready. I'm going to call them one at a time if that's okay.
Please, sir, please.
When I call your name, you will have the time assigned that Speaker Terrell let us know. Lisa, go ahead and speak.
You gotta unmute yourself, Lisa.
Lisa L, Lisa Lysel, either Lysel or Lyle. Okay, Lisa, we have not heard from you. I'll come back to you. Let's move on to Alyssa Ellis. You're ready? Go ahead and unmute yourself so you can speak.
Hi, so my initial thoughts on this are the world is so focused on self and meeting the needs of yourself, and everybody's looking out for themselves, and growing heart cells or meat in labs is about meeting your own personal needs, whereas compassion and empathy is about meeting the needs of others and holding on to the idea that there is more than just yourself. And I think that's a very difficult concept for a lot of folks to grasp.
Yeah. Thank you, Alyssa. Thank you. Call in someone else, Cupid, please.
Yeah, so I'm going to try Lisa again. If not, so Lisa, wait 1 second. I'm going to have Michael unmute.
It let me unmute.
Okay, go ahead.
In reading this statement, the thing that just is so loud to me is evil.
Talk about that, Lisa.
That we can't just care for each other in a human way, just as people. It makes me very, very sad and scared for our country especially.
You've remembered your first language right now, Lisa. Use those tears, swim in those tears and get strong. Get strong. Use those tears to get stronger, to be part of the healing. The world needs you. Thank you. Go for it, Cupid.
Yes, next we're going to have Lori McGowan. Lori, please.
Oh my goodness, Lisa, you got me crying. So for me, I thought about how individualistic we have become. We think about ourselves, we're self-centric. I also thought about that the real conversations are not happening, and that sometimes it's hard to find that safe place to have that conversation with each other. And that respect for each other, we don't see it for who we are, and to respect the differences that we have.
Lori, thank you. And I'm really thankful you mentioned about we've become more self-centric. I don't know if we were ever social-centric in this society. I don't know if we were ever ecocentric. Indigenous peoples around the world were at one time. And every person, no matter what your color, phenotype, pigmentation is, we all have ancestors that communicated with the water and the land and the fire and the wind. And we've lost that symbiotic relationship with even the natural world, right? And so this self-centric model, I'm so glad you mentioned it, Lori, has been engineered in us because of our social order. It's actually ecocidal. It's even an affront to the natural order. Thank you. One more, Cupid, one more call.
So we're going to go to Anna Bosquez. You put revelation, but I'm going to say that you meant also that you're ready. So go ahead and unmute yourself. If I'm mistaken, I have another name, but Anna Bosquez. Okay, so maybe there's a technical difficulty, Anna. We're going to go to the last person, Brandy Sargent. Brandy, please unmute yourself.
You kind of touched on it already, but I was just going to simply say we lose ourselves, our identity, and the true meaning of who we are.
Yeah, it's fascinating, Brandy. Thank you for that. You know, if I was born in Mongolia, even though I don't look Mongolian, I would feel Mongolian. Now, I wouldn't feel fully Mongolian because I don't look like all the Mongolians around me, right? But I would feel Mongolian because that's where I was born and raised. If I was born in, let's say, Sierra Leone, you know, I don't look like a lot of the people around in Sierra Leone, but I would feel like I'm from Sierra Leone. I would feel like, you know, a Sierra Leone person. But even though I just don't, it's where I was raised, right? If I was born in Argentina, right, or Samoa, I would feel like those places. So even though who we are here, this presentation, what we really are is the mind, our memory, our story. And so the human story, we've been storytelling way too long. It's time to be story makers and write a story that is not ecocidal, that is not oppressive, that is not evil and violent, but a story that is, you know, if you all write this down in the language of the English, live, L-I-V-E, is just the word evil, E-V-I-L, doing a 180. For evil to thrive, you don't have to be a bigot, hateful, you know, cruel, prejudice, saying slurs kind of person. You just need to live your life as usual. It's the same thing with devil and lived, right? There's just 180. I was doing a workshop with a bunch of engineers from Intel and MIT. I live here in Phoenix, Arizona, and there's a bunch of Intel fabs here. And this one guy said to me, he says, Calvin, if it works, it's obsolete. And I was like, what do you mean if it works? He's like, if it's already functioning and working, it's already obsolete. He said, we got so much stuff on the drawing board, so many blueprints, that if it's already working, it's obsolete. And I was like, we can't keep up with that. And he was like, oh, yeah. And we were discussing this question. And someone said, well, you know, heart cells and meat, you can measure that. You can measure that stuff. You can have data and stats. You can measure that. And whatever can be measured can make money. But how do you measure compassion and empathy? How do you measure that? If you can't measure it in this society, if it can't make money, then it is not valued. And it's just like, damn, that's real. We got to evolve. And I believe we can evolve as a human race. Either we'll choose that evolution through humility, a humble posture of learning, or Mother Earth will humble us. Because right now, Mother Earth has said, everybody go to your room and think about what you've done. That's why we're sitting here on these Brady Bunch squares talking right now. Mother Earth said, go to your room and think about what you've done. I believe if we don't get humble, we will be humble. So with that, let's talk about this diversity iceberg, okay? Now, some of you are familiar with iceberg theory. This is going to be just a quick overview because I got a lot of stuff to do with you before the time's up. 10% of an iceberg actually shows. The other 90% is underneath the water. Some of you know about this, right? This is why the Titanic went down, because it thought the iceberg was like way over there when the iceberg was like right underneath them. The big part was extended under the water. 90% of an iceberg is underneath the water. So how does this relate to the concept of diversity? Well, on the tip of an iceberg is what's perceivable. You know, what we can hear, what we can see, what we can smell, taste, and touch, right? What's perceivable, our animal senses. So we can see a person's phenotype, their facial features, their body type, right? Their physicality. We can make some assumptions about how they identify with regards to gender or sex, if you will. But we could see certain things about them. We could see the melanin or pigmentation. I don't say light and dark because in the language of the English, light and dark has been associated with good and evil. I use the phrase melanin rich, melanin fair, or melanin medium, right? But light and dark is synonymous with good and evil. And we associate that with skin. It's fascinating. So on the tip of the iceberg is what's perceivable, what we can see. Now, what's underneath the iceberg? It's what's not obvious or inconspicuous. That is either deified or demonized, accepted or rejected, and studied, stolen, or sunk by family, friends, schools, places of worship, industry, institutions, etc., etc., etc. So, you know, everyone on this call could be Jewish, but we wouldn't know that. Everyone on this call could be Muslim, of various Christian denomination, atheist, Wiccan, right? Man, everyone on this call could identify a certain way with sexuality. Everyone on this call could be born in poverty or born in wealth. Everyone on this call could be, you know, raised in a family that they felt they had a charmed life or survived a lot of hell and abuse, having high ACEs score. Everyone on this call could have been homeless at one time or grew up in a secure situation. Everyone in this call could be on the autistic spectrum or neurotypical. There's a lot going on underneath the surface, but not everyone on this call looks like the tip of the iceberg. We're not the same there. There's a lot underneath. Now, there's another iceberg. what's perceivable. But as we could see on this iceberg, what's underneath the surface is deliberately covered. So the climate around what's perceivable at the top either helps or hurts. There was a climate established in this society since 1607. That was when the English refugees landed in Jamestown. We don't talk a lot about Jamestown as a settlement because it failed. They end up cannibalizing themselves, right? And there was a climate where a certain pigmentation, a certain phenotype was looked upon and seen as, okay, that could be helped by the winds of change. But other phenotypes were hurt, challenged, tried to be destroyed, exploited by the winds of change. And what was underneath wasn't even considered. It's just what was perceivable. Now those dark, mysterious waters around this iceberg hold the history of every human identity and circumstance. We need to explore those waters. That's where the history lives. Please take a picture of this or a screenshot. And I encourage you to discuss this concept with as many humans like you and not like you, so that we can respect and find a shared truth to broker healing. But that conversation can be challenging. Be sure you take a picture of this one. Now, what is that climate at the top? You know, that the air. What does that look like? Well, we got to get to the truth. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to officially open up this keynote. I've been just building up to us, and officially opening this up, that means I have to honor my ancestors, your ancestors, our ancestors. Because I may be sitting here by myself right now in this little box, but I'm not sitting here alone. I believe that my ancestors, your ancestors, our ancestors sit here with me. They're here. And I believe our ancestors come in all colors, whatever you call humanity, so-called yellow, black, white, red, and brown. There were many people of many backgrounds, many beliefs that went before us, that did beautiful things and horrible, evil things. We are a composite of all of it. Not just the good, not just the bad, the whole story. So we got to get to her story. You know, we don't talk a lot about her story. There's her story, and then there's his story, and his story is history. We got to get her story, his story, and then get the whole story to get to the truth. I want to honor the land because, you know, I respond to crisis a lot when horrible things happen. Flagstaff Police Department killed this kid, Kyle Garcia. I had to do mediation between the cops and community. It was really intense stuff to broker healing there. A riot broke out here in Phoenix, North High School. 200 black kids over here, 200 Mexicanos over here. They're about to go to war, fighting over a bone, man. And, you know, I go into de-escalation. I take Nazis and gangbangers up to the mountains to get them to walk away from those worlds. When some kid ODs on fentanyl, or a person hangs themselves because of, you know, homophobic, you know, or transphobic treatment of them, or, you know, when just something really terrible happens. And, you know, I go in and broker healing. And, you know, in certain communities, there's always this phrase that people say, and I'm always praying they don't say it, but they say it every time. I'm like, please. And they always say, when some real tragedy happens, they say, that wasn't supposed to happen here. That wasn't supposed to happen here. Now, I'm always real gentle, but sometimes, you know, I want to say to them, well, in your mind, where was it supposed to happen? Because saying it wasn't supposed to happen here is almost like a arrogant affirmation. It was supposed to happen somewhere else. Like this wasn't part of, like the Joker said, the plan, right? So I'd like to encourage everyone to not fall into the Americana arrogance. I think that the things that have been happening around the world cannot happen here. We are this close to a civil war, a race war of unimaginable proportions if we don't get this right. If we do this healing work, oh man, the future looks like Star Trek. Beautiful. I'm a sci-fi geek. The alternative is catastrophic if we don't get this, if we don't do this work. Catastrophic. A future that will even make Blade Runner And that's my favorite movie of all time, the 1980s Harrison Ford version. A future that'll make that dystopia look nice. So let's honor the land. This space where I'm sitting, where you're sitting, maybe, I don't know, but this is the United States, the USA. I believe in honoring that. We're the land of the free, home of the brave. But this very space where I'm sitting right here in Arizona, before this space was called the United States, this very space right here, this was Mexico. Please study the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. Learn about how these lands were stolen during Mexican cession in 1848. And then in 1849, the gold rush was trumped up to basically bring out all these criminals and killers from back east to terrorize these Mexican towns so that these people would surrender to US imperial rule under marshals and whatnot. Isn't it fascinating, all these cities named like San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego? These lands were all stolen. And before these lands were called the United States and Mexico, you know, these were all lands of indigenous people. The word Mexico is not even a Spanish word. It's a palabra de indígenas. The way you actually say Mexico is Mexica. And the Mexica were the native peoples of these lands. And before the colonial languages of Spanish and English and French came to these spaces, in their language, they spoke Nahuatl. And the word Mexica is Nahuatl, right? And so is this phrase in Lakesh. Now understand this. Before European refugees came to this land, oh yeah, our brothers and sisters that came here from Europe, they weren't pilgrims or settlers. Pilgrims are people that make a religious journey, like the Hajj, you know, to Mecca and Medina, or like how Dravidians and Bengali folks, you know, in Hinduism make their pilgrimages, right? Or sometimes people that are Judeo-Christian make pilgrimages to Jerusalem, like a pilgrim. They were separatists. They were called separatists. They were refugees. Now, what do you mean, Calvin, refugees? Well, Europe, prior to colonization, was a really violent, scary, disgusting place. Like the reason why beer, wine, and whiskey is so big there is because they couldn't even drink their water. So fermentation was easier to drink, right? That's why there's fountains all over the place, because those are the public places to where you could wash or get good water, because water was so polluted by fecal matter and stuff, right? All over. Man, the story of Jesus turning water to wine in the Middle East wasn't because Jesus was a party animal. It's because wine was safer to drink. Fermentation, water was dangerous. Europe was full of disease, plagues. People were dying left and right. Famine, man, it was an environmental collapse. There was just like stuff wasn't growing. It was an ecocidal model, this feudalism, right? Oh, then feudalism was an oppressive system. Peasants, serfs, and slaves, nobles and monarchs, and the church and the stuff. And people were fighting, you know, there was the Great Schism. The Catholic Church broke off from the Eastern Orthodox, right? And then the people started protesting. Martin Luther, John Calvin, those Protestants became Protestants, right? And Europe was full of war, Highlanders fighting Lowlanders. They had state-sanctioned rape. It was called prima nocta, right? Marriage of Figaro, Barbara of Seville is all about that. Figaro, prima nocta, where nobles rape peasant women on their first night of marriage. I mean, that's what Braveheart was all about, William Wallace, right? Europe was a terrible place. So when a bunch of people are fleeing that kind of hell, they're called refugees. But our schooling model has been indoctrination. We need to get to true education. But we've been pushed with propaganda. They've been called pilgrims. So I have up 10 fingers. Each one of my fingers is 10%. If each finger is 10%, I have up 100% right now. The native population, First Nations peoples, were 100% of the populations of these lands before European refugees came. Today, the native population is less than 2% of the population of these lands. That is called an attempted genocide. So we are simultaneously the land of the free, home of the brave, and the land of the thief, home of the slave. And we have not healed that duality yet. We haven't earned united. Instead of really justice for all, you know what the pledge? Justice for all. It's been all for just us. So it's time to grow up, evolve. This poem is in Lakesh, Ubuntu. In Lakesh is a Nahuatl phrase that means this. Ubuntu is from the Zulu, isiZulu in South Africa. It means I am because you are. So, Brother Cupid, I'm going to ask for your help with this. I'm going to read the yellow part in Spanish, and then if you would read the green part in English, and we'll go back and forth through this.
Line by line?
Yeah, one by one. You ready, bro?
Yep.
Tú eres mi otro yo.
You are my other me.
Si te hago daño a ti,
If I do harm to you,
me hago daño a mí mismo.
I do harm to myself.
Si te amo y respeto,
If I love and respect you,
me amo y respeto yo.
I love and respect myself.
Thank you, Cupid. You all, this poem is basically saying that as a human race, we are each other's mirrors. And this is from the movie Inception, a really cool movie about the mind, right? Dreams. If you've ever seen two mirrors face each other, you know what happens? It's infinity. It goes on and on and on and on forever. So as a human race, in Lakesh Ubuntu, indigenous people throughout the world believed in this concept that we are each other's mirrors. Now, what lives between us as a human race is infinite possibilities of what we could create in the world. Infinite possibilities of what we can develop and build and create. Now, why can't we see the infinity? Why do we choose the faith of cynicism? Well, the first thing we got to do is start polishing our mirror to reflect that light, to reflect that splendor. Now, what does it mean to polish your own mirror? Service to others, possibly prayer, meditation, taking care of your mind, your body, your heart, your emotions, learning, I believe everybody should get therapy. I have a t-shirt that says everybody needs therapy. And if you disagree, that's called denial, right? But healing, polishing your mirror, because you got to polish that mirror daily, because the dust and dross of the world will come onto that mirror and dim your light. So we got to learn to polish our own mirrors and heal. Some of us feel like our mirrors are broken and they can be healed. Pick up those shards of glass, get those muscles, piece it back together. Now, what lives between our mirrors is a smoke. It's that residue of colonization, the lie of racial supremacy, the lie of how race impacts every identity we see. Race impacts the way we look at gender and class and religion and sexuality and physicality and cognitive abilities and you name it. So we got to clear that smoke between us. And the smoke will come back. And we got to work on it daily, regularly, consistently. So as we learn to polish our mirrors and clear the smoke, what we do is we release the infinity within ourselves and between us to create a world so beautiful. But we got to do the hard work of confronting the lie of racial supremacy and its impact on identities. This lie oftentimes looks like this concept called hegemony. And this is control over a population without the use of direct force. A holistic all use of violence is yet often absent of physical violence except in extreme conditions. How do you control a population without the use of force? Well, everything humans do falls into three pots: art, religion, and sciences. Everything we do, everything we create, art, religion, and sciences. Housing, that's related to science. And then art also, right? Civil engineering, neighborhood planning, that's all sciences, right? The economics behind it, that's all sciences. The finances and whatnot, the roads, the public works, those are all sciences with an artistic flair. So everything humans do falls into art, religion, and sciences. Whoever controls the industries and mechanism of art, religion, and sciences controls civilization. So we've been Pinocchio. We think we're free, but we got these invisible strings on us, cheating us out of earning our humanity. Man, Pinocchio, the Asiatic puppeteer Stromboli almost got him, right? But then the maiden of heaven got him out, right? He got lucky. He didn't listen to his conscience. You know, crickets only talk when you're still. Got to be still. Pinocchio kept moving. He didn't listen to Jiminy Cricket. He didn't listen to his conscience. His mind wasn't sober. He was busy because he was maybe worried the memories would whisper, the conscience would whisper, right? Now the HD European puppeteer is one that really got him. Yeah, took him to Pleasure Island. Pinocchio was getting high, fighting, drinking, doing all kind of stuff, gambling, cutting up. And man, it became a beast of burden, lost a little bit of humanity. He became an ass. Those boys that turned into asses, the ones that still could talk, that remember their names. Yeah, they weren't ready to be slaves yet. But the ones that forgot their names, that were just beasts of burden. But Pinocchio, when he was willing to sacrifice and risk, jump into the abyss, swim into his fear, the monstro, and sacrifice himself for his maker or another human, however you look at Geppetto. When he was willing to go against the animalistic instinct of survival and risk and sacrifice for another, is when he earned his humanity. Hegemony is a fractal, a pattern of hurt people, cheating us out of respect. Remember this one. I'd like to show you what this looks like. This is a little video. Be sure you can see it. I'm going to let it play all the way through, and then I'll talk about it a little bit, and we'll move on. This video, The Prison of Self. I'd like you to consider what personal beliefs, social conditions, and traditions or trends contribute to trapping individuals, communities, and institutions in the prison of self-mind. Look at this environment. It's dead. It's sterile. It's like a cold, desolate winter, scarcity. And I don't know if you've ever been hangry, but when you're hangry, you don't think clearly. Man, they could do the spoons and do something, but they're not thinking. They need to get, how did they get here? You know, a lot of people will say crabs in a barrel, right? Well, that's oppressive itself, because a barrel isn't the natural habitat of a crab. How did that crab get in a barrel? Why are some crab barrels full of water where the crabs can move easily, where other crab barrels lack water, like food deserts and, you know, poor schools or housing that isn't beautiful? How did those people get there? What was the history? What are the waters around that got this community to be where it is? But then this woman says, enough is enough. She gets outside herself. She needed help from the community, even those that did the hurt. And then they realize a paradigm shift. So think about this prison of self mindset and how it has possibly infected you, infected your families, your lovers, your partners, your spouses. how it's affected your friends, your, you know, people in your places of worship, in your teams and clubs, your workplace. What does the prison of self do to us? How does it impact the way we perceive diversity, the way we perceive each other, the way we perceive ourselves? We can be better than this. So, with that, Cupid, I'm going to ask if everyone would write one word in the chat right now to break down what's going through your body right now, what's going through your mind as you hear these concepts, what's running through you. Sum that up in one word, in just one word, and write those one words in the chats. Cupid, if you would start reading them out loud, please.
Yeah, Lisa says empathy. Jennifer M says hope. Pam Taylor says hope. Pam Taylor says actually healing. Vicky says hope. JCF says healing. Amy says reflection. Chris says begin. Jen says connected. Sasha says hope. John says selflessness. Jordan says understanding. Jody says compassion. Marsha P says hope. Shariva says compassion. Stephanie Wynn says grateful. Sandra says esperanza. Mom Mezzola says hope. Anna says hope. Anne says love. Vanessa says empathy. Betsy says empathy. Leslie says empower. Derek says love. Amy M says community. Brandy Sargent, gratitude. Angela, inclusiveness, selflessness. Linda says inclusiveness. Michelle.
Okay, Cupid, hold on. Thank you. This is beautiful. You all, do you see all this greatness welling up out of you? All this beauty, all this light, all this wisdom that's inherent within our heart? Some of us need to heal our inner child. Our inner child that was told, you know, not to dream, not to wish. Our inner child that may have been traumatized or was traumatized by privilege. And privilege has nothing to do with money. It's an obliviousness. It's freedom from considerations. Raised in such a sterile bubble, disconnected from the world and feeling really alien everywhere because you can't understand the struggle. We have to heal our inner child. And when we take care of that inner, because all we are is a body and brain that just grew up around still this little person in our heart. And that little person is pure and clear, at the same time can be very wounded and can hijack our logic. Amy, I believe it's your birthday. Could you unmute yourself, Amy? Amy, are you out there?
She said give her a minute. She usually doesn't work from home. So
okay.
And Amy, in the chat, let me know when you're free and I'll let Calvin know you're free.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. Lisa, Lisa, who shared your first language, that means crying. You know, babies have a hungry cry, sleepy cries. Lisa, I need your help. Can you help me with something, Lisa?
Sure, absolutely.
So Lisa, we're going to read a poem. Okay, it's called The Cold Within by James Patrick Kenning.
Okay.
And I'm going to read the first stanza and you'll read the second, and I'll read the third and you read the fourth, and we'll go back and forth, okay? So thank you for sharing your first language, because there's some people that have forgotten their first language. They've forgotten how to use that first language of tears. And
I have not forgotten that, for sure.
Here we go. I'm going to start. 6 humans trapped by happenstance in bleak and bitter cold. Each one possessed a stick of wood, or so the story's told. Here you go, Lisa.
Their dying fire in need of logs, the first man held his back. For of the faces round the fire, he noticed one was black.
The next one looking across the way saw one not of her church and couldn't bring herself to give the fire her stick of birch.
The third one sat in tattered clothes. They gave their coat a hitch. Why should their log be put to use? To warm the idle rich.
The rich man just sat back and thought of the wealth he had in store and how to keep what he had earned from the lazy, shiftless poor.
The black man's face bespoke revenge as the fire passed from his sight, for all he saw in his stick of wood was a chance to spite the white.
The last one of this forlorn group did not accept for gain. Giving only to those who gave was how she played the game.
Their logs held tight in death's still hands was proof of human sin. They didn't die from the cold without. They died from the cold within.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
And you know what's really fascinating about this scenario? I changed it. I modified some of the pronouns and things in here. On that piece with the black man's face bespoke revenge, I'm Baha'i, and I was raised Baptist. My mom was Catholic, my dad was Baptist, and then I declared Baha'i. And as understanding all these belief systems, that even atheists and agnostics and monotheists and polytheists, we could all have a shared moral compass. With that, I realized that Black African American people, we have been some of the most Christ-like people on the planet. Man, we have never sought revenge for the hell we've been put through. We've never done to white people what have done to us. We've never acted white like that. Like American revolutionaries killed the British. I was in London and studied the American Revolution from the perspective of the British. We're called terrorists. We've never, rode into white communities and lynched and terrorized and, killed children and women and men and hung them from trees and cut off their genitalia and tortured them for hours upon thousands and thousands. We've never done that. And Black police officers killing white people in areas, or Black city council members and Black Bible school teachers and Black teachers doing horrible things to white children. It's just all we've done is just sought a safe life. And we're even demonized for that. We have a lot of work to do. And I see this scenario in this poem is like after kind of an apocalyptic thing happens, maybe a race war, a civil war. And we're back down to, the way humans started on the planet, gathering around our first entertainment center called fire. And we could keep that flame going. But because of our wounds, our traumas, the rich man, hey, I got a lot of toys. Those folks are lazy, this and that. I'm good, whatever. Look at my stuff over here. Just wishing, dreaming about those vacations, right? Distracted with that. The person with the tattered clothes, I've been through hell, huh? You need to go through some stuff. You need to get stronger. People with this moral elitism. The church piece right there, right? People judging people, the same power that made the stars made us. And yet this people that literally believe that because of this person's phenotype and physicality, that somehow they are inferior or superior to them. It's such a delusion. And then some of us are cowards. We won't make the first move. We won't take a risk. Somebody else has got to go first. This is our enemy. And that's spelled me. But if you say it fast, enemy, it sounds like E-N-E-M-Y. Everyone on this call has one or more of these enemies in you in some way. Some of you have been through some hell, and you're like, yeah, it's your time to get it. Revenge, right? It's your time. We have to heal this enemy within us all. Like I said earlier, everybody's got an inner asshole. And if you're sitting there going, I don't have an inner asshole, you're probably the biggest asshole. Before we move on, in the chat, when ready, write ready to share out any thoughts about everything you've heard so far in this keynote, the concepts that are being brought up, the questions, push back, disagree with me, complain, compliment, question, anything at all. When you're ready, you want something you want to say or ask, write ready in the chat, and Brother Cupid will call you into the conversation.
Awesome. So Calvin, I have a question for you. This has been brought up for the group. They would love some of your slides. Sure, at the end share the ones that a lot of people tried to screenshot and they could not. So they wanted to be sure that they are able to get this. Only the ones that you said, please screenshot this, because a lot of people weren't able to. So
yeah, Cupid, I will talk to Michael. Michael Boosie is on the call. Michael's a good brother, man. He's been working with me for a while to put this together. Y'all give some love, claps to Brother Michael for putting this together. Michael, reach out, and if you can make a note of particularly which ones, and what I'll do is I'll send them to you in like a JPEGs. That way you can email them out, Michael. Okay?
Perfect. And then the other thing I wanted to give you some feedback on is that everyone is appreciated and indicating the indigenous spaces and the lands that we're on, from Alaska to Idaho to Oregon to Washington. So that was brought up in the chats. And I wanted to make sure to give you that feedback that resonated with individuals when you were speaking, starting to name the indigenous spaces that they're in. So the only person that we have ready, I encourage everyone else to put ready to give some pushback feedback to the speaker. Right now we have Michelle Hockema. Did I get that right, Michelle, this time?
Hockema.
Everybody say ho. Everybody say comma. Now put them together.
Hockema.
Ho, comma.
Ho, comma.
Ho, comma. Like anyway.
Michelle, you bad. Go ahead.
That's how my husband taught me to say my last name. Anyway, I'm extremely inspired by your presentation, and gosh, there's some things I wish I could just show my daughter, who's 30 and still is struggling too. But I want to talk about the other side of this. This is all very inspiring, and this is all stuff that a lot of us feel in our hearts on a daily basis. But it's the naysayers and the barriers and the being beaten down over and over again, or just being told no and having to manipulate things for clients. And I mean, it's exhausting. And I truly agree with you on the Star Trek, when poverty ends and homelessness is done and we just work for humans, or well, for all kinds, if for Star Trek. But it's so exhausting. Where do you get that energy?
I call them my ancestors, Michelle. They went through, they didn't even have a choice.
Yeah.
They didn't even have a choice. And so when I get tired, when I get cynical, I remember to people that look like me. My last name, Terrell, is the name of a slave owner from the Mississippi area. And I don't know. Black African-American people, we are rootless people. We're indigenous people that don't have a land to go back to. We can't just pop up in Nigeria or Ghana or Mali and go home. Our religion was beaten out of us, stripped out of us, killed out of us. I mean, the language was beat out of our mouths, like what happened with the Indian schools, right? And so I've rooted myself in the soul because I'm a rootless person. So in that rooting myself in the infinity, I believe in those infinite possibilities, that the pupil of the eye, no matter what color it is always black. And so so those ancestors that happen in Africa, they're your ancestors too, Michelle. Call upon them to help you to not try to manipulate people and control. There's a phrase I teach
it was manipulate the system, not people.
Well, here's the thing. The system is doing exactly what it was designed to do. The system is not broken. The system breaks people. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do. As humans come together, we could start confronting and evolving the system. We're either going to flush it. You can't polish a turd. I'm sorry, you can't polish a turd, right? So we're either going to fertilize it or flush it. And we're at that point right now. But that starts internally, Michelle. So I hope that helps. And with those people that might say hateful and hurtful stuff, I want everybody to write down these 3 words. There's 2 different versions of them. When you encounter that evil, that cruelty, and a lot of people don't realize, when you encounter that enemy, the first thing I want you to say is, help me understand. Like, help me understand why you believe that. Help me understand why you think that way. Help me understand, why you think that way about Mexicans. Help me understand why you say that about Arabs. Help me understand, how many like trans and lesbian folks have you interacted with? Help me understand why you believe that about evangelicals or Jewish people or people that are atheists or Buddhists. Help me understand, why you don't want to live in that area. And the second phrase of 3 words is, tell me more. Tell me more. It's critical that we learn to ask very simple and profound questions, because we can make statements till we're blue in the face, but when you ask really beautiful, simple, and profound questions, what you do is you invite people to metacognate, to think about their thinking, to get outside of the prison of self and think about their thinking, to look at the way that they're looking at the world, to communicate and discuss the way that they talk. You invite them to respect, to look again.
Okay, we have a couple names on here. So I see about 5 people. I want to call out Shani Butler. She's not asking to speak, but she said "ashe" to what you were saying.
Ashe, ashe, yeah, ashe.
So right now I'm going to call on Shar Revis.
Hi. So I guess the first thing that comes to my mind, just processing all this, is a friend I had that we would just get into it, and all of a sudden they would just stop and say, "Can we start over? Let's take a breath. Can we start over?" And that just keeps resonating in me right now. Can we take what we've done, our mistakes, and can we start over in a positive, caring, humane, or is it too late? Can we start over?
Shark, thank you. I want to ask you this question before you unmute yourself. Like, let's say you and I get into a disagreement, right? I've been married going on 29 years, and my wife and I just happen to disagree with each other periodically. It just happens, And we got to start over. We literally say reset, kind of like a video game. Okay, reset. We need to reset, right? We can do that interpersonally, but can we reset institutionally, systemically, at a societal, global level? Is it possible? And I really want your thoughts on this, Shar. Can we start over? Can we reset?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I believe in hope, and I believe in envisioning that. I think if enough of us who heartfeltly want to do that, because there's power in that, join together and keep that goal. I don't know. Is there a higher power? I really don't know if we could. And I don't think it's impossible.
Thank you. And it's good to hear that you're not in the faith of cynicism. The way people pray in the faith of cynicism is nothing will ever change. That's how it's always going to be. They meditate in the faith of cynicism like this, whatever, right? We give our power, our breath to hopelessness, to cynicism. And there's Abdul Baha's guy said, when 2 people argue over what God is, both are wrong. because nobody's died for a month and come back and written a story, a syllabus, or some longitudinal study about the other side. The challenge is atheists, agnostics, monotheists, and polytheists developing a shared moral compass. Because what plagues atheists, agnostics, monotheists, and polytheists is this one. Everybody, please write this down. What plagues us is itheism. I-T-H-E-I-S-M. Itheism. The worship of self. And we've been engineered to do that.
Okay. We have, I want to read out a story. JCF put it, she said, born in Jamaica, grew up in the countryside as a little girl with a community that lean on each other. I understand the mirror example so much. We do smoke up our mirror to where we don't see our reflection. She just put that in the chat.
And that's a perfect transition to the next piece, Cupid. We got to move on. Thank you so much. Whoever said that, thank you, because you just gave a perfect segue. Do you remember the spoons video I showed you all when they were reaching out? Well, throughout the world, these children's classes are played, and this has been going on since the late 60s, where all over the planet, there's this game to teach children how to collaborate across religious lines, ethnic lines, racial lines, economic lines, to work together to build safe community, right? And what you do is you tie these things on the kids' arms to where they can't bend their elbow, right? And you tie these things, the long sticks from some hardware stores tend to work really well, right? But you tie these things and then you have them put one hand behind their back and you fill up these little cups of like water, juice, Kool-Aid, Tampico, lemonade, something, right? And you say to the children, the only thing you could say as the facilitator is, everyone has to get a drink. That's all you can say. Everyone has to get a drink. So they pick up the cups and they're like, and they're trying to drink and they just can't. And they're like, give me more water. And you give more water and they're like, because they can't bend their elbow and it's falling, right? Well, I live in Arizona and get up to 120 degrees. Like, I love the Pacific Northwest. Man, y'all are a beautiful country. I really, please, I want to go to Alaska. I need to come there. Please, I really want to come like in the fall, like right around now too. I hear it's so beautiful. But there's this, because when I look at nature, I see people. Like when I look at a person's eyes, I swim in their eyes as if I'm swimming in the ocean. When I look at a person's hair and face of all colors, I see like the cream in the Milky Way at a night, like in Wyoming or something. When I look at people's shoulders, I see the cliffs of the Grand Canyon, you know, when I see beards and stuff, and I see deep forests and whatnot. When I see skins and rolling, I see sand dunes. And so I've never seen somebody stand on the beach and go like, I don't like how the waves hitting the shore, you know, or in the cliffs of the Grand Canyon, the way the light hitting the rocks, I'm not feeling that. That's kind of whack, right? I've never seen that. The same stuff that made nature made us. So anyway, back to the kids. And they're like, give me more water, right? And you keep filling up the cups and all you can say is everybody's got to get a drink, right? After a while, it never fails. And this is like 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds. And I played this game from 5 to 52 on up. I have had adults that never figure out the game. People that stop playing, like, this game is stupid. It's done. It never fails. A child will usually go, everyone has to get a drink. They usually like ask a question. You go, yes. And then they look at the cup, and they look at the kid, and then they go, they help another person drink. And then they go, oh! Now, because this game is played all around the world, all right, from Mongolia to Manhattan, okay, from Colombia to freaking like Vancouver, all over the planet. There are 3 areas of the world where children figure this out super fast. Super fast. Not Paris, not Tokyo, not Sydney, not Vancouver or Toronto, not Phoenix, not New York or LA. 3 areas of the world where kids, like, it's amazing how fast they come up with it. And that data has been collected. Take a look. That's an image from the Congo. Some of these kids were first to work in the diamond mines, the coltan mines. Over 11 million people have been killed in Congo because coltan is the base metal in all of our electronics. All of our smartphones, all of our computers, all of our TVs function from coltan. And 98% of it comes out of Central Africa. And what people outside corporations do from the United States, Europe, parts of the Middle East, China, is they facilitate these wars between the old ethnic grudges so that they can control the mines. These children worked in the mines, have been child soldiers, and when this game is played there, figure it out like that. Now, water is precious there. Because of the strip mining, it's where people give like the soil a hysterectomy. They dump these poisonous toxic chemicals into the water, into the soil. Those toxic chemicals destroy all the stuff underneath. This is what people are wanting to do in Alaska with fracking and things. It destroys everything underneath. If there's no roots underneath that soil, it's easier to get at the metals, diamonds, coltan, copper, iron ore, silver, you name it. That toxic stuff leaches into their water supply. It's kind of like that mining accident that happened a few years back in West Virginia. You can see it on YouTube. The water was so toxic that people were able to set the water on fire. That's how 2/3 of the human population lives on Earth every day so that we could have Black Friday, that we can buy and throw away, buy and throw away, buy and throw away. Now, there are 2 other areas of the world where kids figure this out super fast. Those areas of the world are Colombia and Cambodia. Colombia's had over 50 years of war, the FARC. There's children that live in the sewers down there and they huff glue. They huff glue to suppress the hunger in their stomachs. There's specific police squads that go out and hunt these children down and kill them. Cambodia has more landmines than anywhere else on the planet because of the old fighting between, you know, the white on white crime between capitalism and communism with the Cold War, where they were using proxy wars with Khmer Rouge and various groups in the Hmong populations there. You know, it's what's fascinating to me when I look at these pictures, it makes me realize that I've even kind of cheated my kids because the stuff that we have in our society, our stuff is the way we a lot of times define ourselves. But these kids are wealthy because their wealth is in each other, is in community, is in taking care of each other. Just as someone mentioned in Jamaica about the piece of people reaching out for each other, but the smoking mirrors, the polishing the mirrors. So I want you all to reflect upon, we keep building these fortresses around us. It's like a physical representation of the prison itself. I've seen people with amazing backyards, amazing backyards. Man, let's start making some amazing front yards, amazing porches. And if you go to so-called poor neighborhoods, everybody's sitting on the front. Everybody's sitting out in the front connected. But the identity crisis, the feeling sometimes inferior because of race or religion or class or gender or something, cheats people out of knowing that you are a noble being inherently. Just remember this. It's almost time for us to wrap up. I want to show you a couple of more things. Now, this is a real quick piece about in Lakesh, Ubuntu. If planet Earth, billions and billions of people on Earth, right? But this percentage of the Earth is African and Asian and North American and South American and European and Australian and Pacific Islander. If Earth was a village of 100 people, but the exact same percentages, billions and billions of people over here, but percentages, and over here a village of 100 people, but the exact percentages in Lakesh, Ubuntu. If Earth was a village of 100 people, what would it look like? Wait a minute, 48 minutes. 48 days. Sometimes I'm right. 12 hours. I can be wrong. My own beliefs are in my song. 8 Latin American. 5 Russian. Russia's huge. 5 5 North Americans. Hey, that's us right there, right? 1 Australia. 1 Pacific So based upon the science fiction of social construction of race, 82% would be considered non-white. 18% would be considered white. So basically, unless you're planning to move to the moon, and there are some people that are literally trying to do that, you know, there's some super wealthy folks that want to move to the suburbs of Mars, right? And Earth just becomes a huge ghetto. That's why we spend so much money on space exploration. Unless you're planning to move to the moon, more and more in every community you go in, you're noticing all these kanjis, all these signs in like Mandarin, and all these people speaking Hindi or Punjabi. Why is that? Well, because 58% of the planet is Asian. And Asia's a big continent with a lot of different kind of people, right? Man, you're walking through the grocery store and hearing all these women speaking Wolof, Xhosa, and Dinka. Why is that? Well, because 12% of the planet is African. And Africa is a continent, not a country, by the way. I'm so sick of going to people's little superficial diversity festivals. And they say, hey, we're going to have some representation from Russia, China, El Salvador, and Africa. It's the world's 2nd largest continent. Let's learn our geography, right? Man, we're driving past bus stops. We notice all these women wearing troudour and hijabs and rocking bindis. Well, why is that? Well, because 32% of Earth is considered Christian. And the largest population of that is actually those that are considered Catholic. Catholics are Christians. But then, like, you know, that's Protestants, LDS, non-denominational, Jehovah's Witness. But 68% of the Earth is not Christian. We're going to hear people speaking Spanish that are every so-called race and color of the human family. Everyone on this call could be Latinx. Every one of us. Because Latinx is not a race. It's a group made up of socially constructed races. You know, there's peninsulares, criollos, mestizos, mulattos, indígenas, negros, y samos. And more people are going to go, am I in the United States? Yes. And this is why I think a lot of people still call themselves Americans, because we haven't earned united yet in these United States. We don't know that word. We could earn it. You find antidotes for a disease in the disease. Anti-venom lives in the venom. As the samurai say, take arrows in your forehead and never in your back. We got to run at these problems to deal with these issues. Because the healing will sting. Building new muscles stings, but you get stronger. This healing will not be comfortable. But people are so addicted to comfort, the prison of self, a lot, that they'd rather die in that prison. So remember this process, right? Now, I want to do this quickly. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Sing along. H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Come on. Q, R, S. Come on. T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABC. Look at those babies. Next time, will you sing with me? You know what? They could all be Jewish, Muslim, a Christian denomination, Hindi, atheist, Buddhist, agnostic, an indigenous practice. Man, we don't know if they're boys or girls, right? We could gender them. Man, they could all be born gay or straight. They might be trans later in life. Or, you know what? Wow. Hey, they could all be like neurotypical or considered gifted or on the autistic spectrum. They could all be born in wealth. They could all have been molested or have had a very safe life. They could all be born in poverty. Man, they could all be from Mexico, Colombia, Venezuela, France or England, Germany, You know what? There's two things we could see about these beautiful babies. The first thing is we could see that there are 4 beautiful babies. The second thing we could see is phenotype. If you are one of those people that says we're all the same, and you deny that just because of the way a person looks, the so-called melanin and pigmentation of their skin, their phenotype, their facial features, if you deny that that impacts the way they have to navigate the earth, you are a big part of the problem. Think of which one of those babies is asked this question a lot. Where are you from? And they go, Phoenix. And they go, no. Where are you from? And they go, South Phoenix. Okay, what languages do you speak? Broken English, you ass. My friend Raymond, he calls himself an ABC, American born Chinese. And he's just like, me and him always joke. I was like, nobody's gonna ask me where I'm from, Raymond. And I said, because they know with Africa and what happened with chattel slavery, we can't figure it out. Man, which one of those babies is most likely to be told, go back to where you came from? Which one of those kids is probably scared to go to the hospital right now? You know, COVID situations, or call for EMTs to come to the house because they're worried that, well, if they go to the hospital, they may not come home because ICE might pick them up. Which one of them is most likely to be killed unarmed by police? You know who it is? Native people are killed more than African Americans, but it usually happens on the res, unarmed by police. The second group to be killed most unarmed by police is Black African American people. Which child is most likely to be told, you would never understand, you're just a... You see those 2 babies reaching out to each other with the adults are distracted with material things? They're kind of like, I got your nose, right? Children are not colorblind, they're color kind. They get trained to deny a lie about what is reality. And look at that little one all alone in that darkness, looking at us, looking at our behavior, looking at the way we lie about reality, the way we treat each other, the way we deny history. Look at them holding their little chest. Look at their little diaper. And there's no adult there to guide them and talk about that. If hurt people, remember, open hearts to help each other. Now, I'm going to give you just a superficial example of what this prejudice looks like, this deification and demonization. I'm going to do a little thing with you. Let's say we never met, okay? And the first time you met me, I talked a certain way. I'd like you to consider how intelligent or smart you would think I was, all right? I'm going to put on my Kango, right? If the first time we met, how intelligent or smart would I be if the first time we met, I talk like this, right? Hey, yo, what's up, dog? My name Calvin, son. Hey, look, yo, I'm going to be breaking it down how, like, niggas be tripping up in the world and stuff. Maybe you can feel me, maybe you can't. That's what's up, real deal. Holyfield, baby. I'm going to go in. If you can't get down on this, that's your beef, right? How intelligent, smart do you think I was if I spoke like that? Or how smart or intelligent might I be if I talk like this? Hey, what's up, y'all? Night, Cal. I'm from Aberdeen, Mississippi, man. I live out here in Phoenix now. It be hot in the mug out here for real. You be feeling like wet bread walking around. I ain't even lying, man. I ain't playing. It's hot in the mug. I saw this one dude, he took a whole bunch of eggs and he threw them on the concrete and they cooked. Shoot, I was excited. I'm about to get some hot sauce. That sriracha. How intelligent would I be if I talk like that, right? Or how smart or intelligent would I be? But the first time we met, we don't shake hands now, we do elbows, right? The first time we met, talk like this. Well, hello everyone, my name is Calvin, I'm here from Liverpool. You know, as often as I can, I like to engage in philosophical discourse. I think the human race often emotionally vacillates. Now, do you concur? Now, what's most fascinating about language, accent, and diction, it has nothing to do with the person's smarts. It has nothing to do with their intellectual capacity. But oftentimes, when we hear certain accents and word choices, automatically we size up how smart we think a person is. Yo, dog, sometimes we even size up their morality. Like if they're a good or bad person. Because, yo, this brother right here, he really intelligent, Craig. He crazy smart, for real. But because he speak like this, you think he's some broken cup that you need to fill up. That's some freestyle for you, see? Yo, I don't get down on bullets and guns. I break it down on metaphors and puns, but you can't feel me though, right? See the way I spell freedom? Maybe you should spell freedom with me. See, I spell freedom like this. I spell freedom. Everybody say F, F, R, R, E, E, A, D, D, O, O, M, M. I spell freedom with the word read in the middle. But a lot of y'all say freedom. You know what I'm saying? You didn't say freedom, you said freedom. Because you know what? A lot of us don't know how to read reality. Yeah, I'm serious. We don't know how to read. We're like socially ignorant. We globally stupid. We don't know how to read reality. It's like they said earlier. They've been pissing on you so long that you think it's rain. Because you think I'm stupid, right? But you think this chap right here is really intelligent because he speaks like this, but he's actually a bloody idiot. He's what in Spanish they call a babosa. But because he speaks in the language and accent and diction of your forefathers, or rather your colonizers, we afford him automatic credibility. This is the essence of prejudice. It's subconscious. And we all do it. We deify and demonize. And that deification and demonization dehumanizes our entire civilization. This is why white men, middle-aged white men, complete suicide more than any other group, because of the pressure. You should have the house, the car. You got to get this right. You should know this. It's a God complex. Man, the ultimate affirmation of the concept of white supremacy is the phrase white trash. Because white trash is like saying to a human called white, how dare you be white and live in those conditions? How dare you be white and act that way? How dare you be white and speak in that diction? We expect that of other people. You don't hear yellow trash, red trash, brown trash, or black trash. Because in the words of the English, yellow, red, brown, especially black, is already synonymous with trash. To say black trash is redundant, but to say white trash means this person falls far below a standard. So subconsciously, what we're saying is, trash denotes you, but know that. So white attached to it, white trash, oh, take trash away, this man means they're white. That's the essence of white supremacy. It's not Nazism and KKK stuff. It's this lie that has been indoctrinated in us by art, religion, and sciences. Their weaponization that humans called white are inherently the most beautiful, the most intelligent, the most hardworking, the most moral. It's a lie. So it's time for these babies in us to grow up and mature as a human race, heal these traumas, and build a civilization worthy of that power that made the stars. With that, I'm going to shut up. And I'm going to put something in the chat for you to write down. The first part I'd like you to write down is a Chinese proverb that says, a crisis is an opportunity riding on a dangerous wind. How do we use crisis? How do we use this crisis we're in right now? There's two pandemics afflicting humankind. COVID-19 and the lie of racial supremacy intersecting with all identities. And for a lot of people, unless they are directly affected by COVID or the racial lie, unless they're impacted personally, they don't think they're true. How do we use this crisis as an opportunity to evolve as a human race, to restructure our systems, to tear things down virtuously in order to build it back up virtuously? Because if we don't do that, the violence is coming. A Zimbabwe proverb that says, until lions have historians, the hunter will always be the hero. How do the lions start using their voice, speaking up, telling their the whole story. And then that Cree prophecy, a Cree are First Nations Native people. They straddle lands now called the United States and Canada. At a big gathering in the 1800s, an elder from the Cree population said, only when the last tree has been cut down, only when the last fish has been caught, only when the last river has been poisoned, only when the air is unsafe to breathe, only then will you know money cannot be eaten. With that, I can see the chat now. And we have about 15 minutes. With these last 15 minutes, I'd like to open up for open mic. Anything you want to ask me specifically about how these concepts apply to your work, what you're doing, a complaint, a concern, a question, sky's the limit. The only thing I ask is that you chew your words up before you spit them out so that we can give many people a chance to share. Let's give Cupid a round of applause for helping out when I was in the area where I couldn't see, all right?
Calvin, can we do it like this? Because we have quite a few questions for you. There's two people I want to start off with, and I like the process of them putting that they're ready in the question phase, because there's a lot of questions they have for you, and I want to be sure that we can organize it easily. So if you have a question for them, put ready. I will call on you. The first person I would like to call on, though, is back a little bit ago, Jen Ramirez Robson asked to read something to you. So I'm calling on you, Jen, really quickly to read what you had put about a half an hour, 45 minutes ago. I saw you, wrote it down. Share it now.
Go for it, Jen.
Absolutely. And I think one of the places where we have to start with healing, and this was a poem that was shared with me from a friend of mine. It's called For Calling the Spirit Back from Wandering the Earth in Its Human Feet by Joy Harjo. Put down that bag of potato chips, that white bread, that bottle of pop. Turn off that cell phone, computer, and remote control. Open the door, then close it behind you. Take a breath offered by friendly winds. They travel the earth, gathering essences of plants to clean. Give it back with gratitude. If you sing, it will give your spirit lift to fly to the stars' ears and back. Acknowledge this earth who has cared for you since you were a dream, planting itself precisely within your parents' desire. Let your moccasin feet take you to the encampment of the guardians who have known you before time, who will be with you after time. They sit before the fire that has been there without time. Let the earth stabilize your post-colonial insecure jitters.
That's right.
Be respectful of the small insects, birds, and animal people who accompany you. Ask their forgiveness for the harm we humans have brought down upon them. Don't worry. The heart knows the way, though there may be high rises, interstates, checkpoints, armed soldiers, massacres, wars, and those who will despise you because they despise themselves. The journey might take you a few hours, a day, a year, a few years, 100, 1,000, or even more.
Wow.
Watch your mind. Without training, it might run away and leave your heart for the immense human feast set by the thieves of time. Do not hold regrets. When you find your way to the circle, to the fire kept burning by the keepers of your soul, you will be welcomed. You must clean yourself with cedar, sage, or other healing plant. Cut the ties you have to failure and shame. Let go the pain you are holding in your mind, your shoulders, your heart, all the way to your feet. Let go the pain of your ancestors to make way for those who are heading in your direction. Ask for forgiveness. Call upon the help of those who love you. These helpers take many forms: animal, element, bird, angel, saint, sown, or ancestor. Call your spirit back. It may be caught in corners and creases of shame, judgment, and human abuse. You must call in a way that your spirit will want to return. Speak to it as you would a beloved child. Welcome your spirit back from its wandering. It may return in pieces, in tatters. Gather them together. They will be happy to be found after being lost for so long. Your spirit will need to sleep a while after it is bathed and given clean clothes. Now you can have a party. Invite everyone you know who loves and supports you. Keep room for those who have no place else to go. Make a giveaway, and remember, keep the speeches short. Then you must do this. Help the next person find their way through the dark.
Jen, aho, aho.
Thank you, Jen. Jen, you were
Jen.
asked to put the name of that in the chat. I want to make sure we have space for people. They want some reflection from Calvin. So I'm going to call on Sasha Mickelson. You had a question you wanted to ask him and you wanted to hear his response. And please, if you have anything to say or you'd like to speak, don't make me call on you. Put your name in the chat, say ready. Otherwise, I'll start calling on your comments that you put in.
Channy, Ashe, aho, and native Ashe from West Africa. Yeah. Keep going, y'all. Come on. Who's jumping in? Channy.
Sasha Mickelson, and then it will be Lisa that spoke earlier. So, Sasha, ask your question, please.
Okay. Hi, Calvin. So, you've said a lot of beautiful things, and I think they're very meaningful to those of us who are believers. What I want to ask you is, when you were talking about seeking to understand, how do you really implement that in a world of Donald Trump? And I live in the Portland, Vancouver area. We have people with trucks and flags and guns roaming our streets.
They call it the Boogaloo.
The Boogaloo, right. So,
yeah.
What you've said is beautiful, but seriously, what are we supposed to do now?
So let me show you. I have a shirt worn by a terrorist organization very active in my state. This shirt was given to me by a person who left this terrorist group after they attended one of my camps. They come to communities like in yours looking for disenfranchised kids, people that feel left out, bullied. A lot of times they try to attack folks that are on the spectrum and feel isolated, and they will give these people some false identities, some bunch of BS, and use them to do ugly evil, horrific evil. This shirt was given to me in the late 90s by a group here in Arizona called Hammerskins and War. That is an SS Nazi Gestapo symbol surrounded with the word, support your local white boy. They do something called a smiley, where you would beat a person until they're unconscious. You take them by their mouth, you put their mouth on the curb of the street like so, and you kick them in the back of the head. They call it a smiley because the face splits open. They kill undocumented people in the desert for their initiation. The kid that gave me this, black belt, knew how to make explosives, lived out in Kingman, where Terry Nichols and Timothy McVeigh trained to blow up the Murrah building in Oklahoma in 1995. My question to you is, somebody like that killed, not my question, my statement, somebody like that killed my close friend, Andre Carpenter, we call him Rudy, in the Ferguson, Florissant area of St. Louis, Missouri, where I'm from originally. I will approach these people with love, but I will approach them with truth and ask questions. Let's have a conversation. Let's not do this over social media. If you want to sit down and really talk about how we can work. My question, you may want to write this to them, is if you got the world the way it should be in your mind, if everything happened or didn't happen for all the peoples of the world in the way you think it should be or should not be in your mind, if you got your dream world, everything worked out your way, what happens to people like me? What happens to people like them and them and them? And at that moment, some people realize they're evil. Now, here's the real talk. I'm going to love people and work with them. But this is the way, if you could see in the video, this is the way Calvin used to look. I grew my locks for 22 years. They were down to my knees. In April, I decided to let my inner define my outer instead of my outer define my inner. And I cut off all my hair. Like in Native culture, when people die, I felt death was coming, so I cut my hair. But also I did that because I'm preparing to fight physically. That it may take a physical confrontation. The Boston Tea Party wasn't nothing but looting and rioting. So I don't want that to happen, but I will protect people of all colors that are trying to build a new humanity, because there are some people that have been engineered to be very sociopathic, and it might take extreme measures. So I will exhaust the work with love and conversations and whatnot. At the same time, I'm ready to kick ass if I need to. I hope that helps.
Our last question is going to be Lisa, and then Calvin, I'm going to give it to you to just close us out. You're going to be the last word after you answer Lisa's question, and we will end on your words.
I actually don't have a question for you, Calvin. I have an invitation. I'm in Anchorage, Alaska.
Hey!
Yes, we are on the lands of the Dena'ina people.
Oh.
And like my other brothers, you can come and visit me. You have to sleep on the couch, but it's really a nice couch. And my other brothers like it when they bring their families, and I would invite you to bring your family, and you've got a place in my home anytime. Come to Alaska.
Oh yeah, that's one of my dream places to go. All right, Lisa, this strange black dude might be knocking on your door. Be ready. Wait, let's do one more, Cupid. Anyone? We got time. One more, maybe. One more.
I'm going to call someone out. We do have someone on here, but I'm going to call out. Let me find it because I thought it was a great. Hold on here. JCF, you just left a comment. I want you to speak on what you were saying earlier. I kind of mentioned it, but I'm going to give you a minute and give Calvin a chance to respond. You were making some wonderful insights. JCF, speak up, please.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just saying that I understand that we smoke up our mirror and we doesn't see our true reflection. As a person that born in Jamaica, grew up in the countryside of Jamaica, where it was very much a community leaning on each other. And coming to America, I learned a lot. I've been here since 1973, so I learned a lot of what not to be when you show kindness. In school, when I came here at 13, it came back to me as, oh, we're using that person over there. Or it was so negative. And I noticed that in the COVID, I went right back into, I do not want anyone around me that saying a negative word, saying, I am very crazy right now. And probably a lot of times I have to thank my coworkers to embrace me, because I'm going through this where I cannot take the negativity. It's not something I can deal with. And I reflect back to growing up and I close my eyes sometime and meditate back to my grandma days, where I could reflect on those cushioning moments in order to deal with what I'm dealing with. And when I'm working, I'm talking honestly. I've always been an honest person. I've always been shunned not to do that. And for 24 years in the housing business here in the state of Washington, I have dealt with the differences. Growing up in New York and living in Washington, two different things. So I embrace the difference. Person that speak with an accent, come in, they look at you, you doesn't have the knowledge, you doesn't have the, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't care about that. I just don't care about hearing negativity in my world as it is today. And anybody that comes with it, I do not speak. I'm just like, I'm finished. I tell them exactly what I cannot deal with, and respect that or not, I don't care. And that's what I was trying to say, that we smoke up our mirrors a lot with whatever we bring in and how we have to be. I have to be a bit different person living in the Northwest to living in New York City, because it's not accepted. Your honesty and your reality of who you are is not embraced in the Northwest, because the cultures is different. Not many Jamaicans are here, so That's part of what I live with for these past years.
You need a community. That's what we
Yes.
gotta, the goal right now is to start building these soulful villages of a new human race of souls. And these villages that are where we're not just singing kumbaya, we're healing this stuff. We're having raw conversations. We're getting honest and polishing our mirrors and clearing the smoke simultaneously. So I hope you find that community or build it. Just start building. And if you survived hell, you have the power to build heaven.
Amen. Thank you.
With that, we're at time. I have to be a stickler on that. Be sure to use the code for Calvin 150 if you're playing the game. Calvin, I'm going to give you the last word. Let's wrap us up in 1 minute.
Yes. For really quick, everyone, I just put in a link to my social-centric website that has a bunch of information, books, YouTube videos, various things, documentaries where you could do your own journey, your own study about this work to continue to enhance whatever you're doing. I also just put in my email, calvin@calvinterrell.com. If you want to reach out and continue the conversation. The only thing I say to you is, like Cupid said at the beginning, thank you for what you all do. Housing is not a privilege, it is a human right. And I just like to say, whether you don't understand me, don't like me, hate me, or don't care, I love you. And I am not an ally to women. I am not an ally to LGBTQ folk. I'm not an ally to people that are not neurotypical. I am family, because an ally means that's your problem and I'll come help you with your problem, but I might get in. No. Family means I'll risk for you. I'll die for you. I'll fight with you. We are family. So I'm family to women. I'm family to people that are LGBTQ. I'm family to people that are not neurotypical. We have to build a new human family on earth that is ecocentric. So I love you. Thank you.
Thank you all. And Calvin, be sure to check out the Zoom group chat. You're getting a lot of love over there, lots of information. People are saying, thank you, Calvin. You've helped reset. These are the individuals who many of them deal with and work with families every single day, the poorest of the poor, the intergenerational poverty-stricken ones. These are our front line. This is our infantry. That's who you're speaking to. So,
and Cupid, I just real quick, this is what you're saying. We have to confront anti-indigeneity and anti-blackness. And remember, there are still children in cages dying in my state right now. There are children in cages dying.
Absolutely. Your words are met with everyone. And I think you have a family here. So we will look forward. Next year, I will work with our team. Maybe we'll just have to get you in a session so people can attend and really, really dive deep, because there were so many questions people have. And I know that they're exiting off. Exit as you need to. There's so many questions people had. You're getting so many responses. Lori said yes. Hammer, thank you so much for moving presentation. Take care, everyone. Be safe and healthy. Vanessa Sanchez says yes, thank you. Wilson says thank you for the hope. Jennifer Huber says thank you. Joanne says yes, that. Chris C says thank you, Calvin. Joanne says yes, we are. Ryan Lucas says thank you. Jocelyn crying from the best session in decades. Yo, we bring the heat.
I live in Arizona. I bring the heat, bro. For real.
That's it. All right, you all. I'm going to go ahead and end this session.
I'm taking off. Michael, thank you. Michael Wussy, thank you for your help. Cupid, blessings. Thank you, brother, for your help. Much love to everybody, y'all. Take care of each other and take care of the earth. Bless.